What's up, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Falcons in Focus podcast, brought to you by Ticketmaster, recorded in the Ticketmaster studios. I'm Scott Bair. That's Tori McElhaney, the man of the hour. Taquan Graham has joined us, and we're very excited to ask you this question. I looked on Yelp at Terry Black's barbecue, and I looked up the phrase beef rib. And Arthur Smith was not wrong when he said, when he went to barbecue with you, that it looks like a dinosaur rib.
Right.
It's like Flintstones where the car would just fall over. Mm-hmm. Have you ever completely eaten one Terry Black's beef rib?
Never have completed Terry Black's beef rib at all. It's pretty big, you know. We just we're there. I was there to watch, Bijan work out, and we, caught some lunch later. And it just slapped it on my plate. I was like, I just started sharing it with everybody, honestly, because I knew I could finish all of it. It was huge.
See, here's the thing. Arthur Smith was really giving you credit. He was like, he almost put down the entire dinosaur-sized rib, and I think we all were really impressed. So it's nice to know the full story. When going back to that moment, and you go out to Austin, Texas, and you have kind of your whole coaching staff out there too that are checking out Bijan Robinson. What was kind of those couple of days like, having all those guys in the town that, I don't know, you went to college in?
Well, I trained there at the place, called Collective, and Bijan trains there, as well. But it was pretty cool having them out there. And, I know they're out there to, go see Bijan and see what he's all about. And I guess, they liked what they saw eventually. And it was cool, to get to sit down and eat lunch with them and, really just to have a conversation because, sometimes we may get caught up in this football life and it's not really too much, conversation just about, day-to-day life stuff.
Did anyone surprise you by how much barbecue they put down?
I gotta say Coach Stahl probably.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Stahl put down some. Petrie didn't put down as much barbecue as I thought he would, but yeah, Stahl was over there putting it down for sure.
Petrie talking a big game about how much he was gonna put down with the Terry Black's barbecue, but
didn't happen. So what was your scouting report on Bijan Robinson when they asked you, all right, you were this guy's teammate?
Right, yeah.
Right, we can see all the fancy stuff he does on the field, but what was your insight? I'm sure that you weren't upset when they took him at number 8.
I definitely wasn't upset. I had my fingers crossed the whole time watching the first round. But honestly, I feel like most of the questions were about his character.
Yeah.
And, being in Austin, Texas, and him taking on that role, in a similar light, maybe to Ricky Williams or, Vince Young, like that, having all that attention all the time. Mm-hmm. I think he handled it so well. And I thought he would also handle being a top 10 pick as well, just the same way, approach it humbly and also be, somebody that's going to come in and work day in and day out. I kind of told him more of his character more than anything, rather than the on the field stuff. Sure, what he could handle mentally.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Now, for you, I actually want to continue on this conversation of Austin, Texas, the food scene in Austin, Texas, because I feel like there are very few places that have that level of good food. I just feel that way about Austin, Texas. Now, I read a quote, and you can correct me if this is wrong, but you said, I don't have many hobbies, but I am kind of a little bit of a foodie. Is that true?
Yeah, it's definitely true.
True? Okay.
All right.
True. You'll probably catch me at any little hole in the wall somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love to eat, and I love to experience, different cultures of food for sure.
And Austin's a great place to do that. And I also read something along the lines of someone somewhere had asked you at some point your favorite Austin, Texas place to eat. And you had mentioned some type of Tex-Mex place, but you said specifically that you were a big fan of the Don Juan. Mm-hmm. What is the Don Juan?
We have to know this.
Yeah, this is important.
So the Don Juan is, it's probably about the size of this notebook. And it's a tortilla. It's basically just a big breakfast taco. And it has sausage, bacon, cheese, egg, all into one, but you get extra tortillas on the side, and it's this big mound of stuff, and you just grab it.
Oh my gosh,
you
that
just
sounds
make individual
awesome.
Tacos. But the place is called One in a Million.
One in a million.
Yeah,
well, that's gonna drive you in.
It's in East Austin. It's definitely good. It's something one of my teammates put me on to when I was a freshman.
So, would you prefer to go find like a food truck or a hole in the wall, or are you like, go give me like a Michelin star restaurant? Like, which would you rather go out and find some good stuff at?
Well, I feel like that's kind of changed over the course of time, you know,
Yeah.
having a little bit more money in my pocket. I definitely have tried anywhere down from maybe just, 2 guys working in a food truck all the way, into a 5-star restaurant. But I feel like I can appreciate, the best of both worlds. I appreciate this, the food trucks and the 5-star restaurants. But personally for me, I got to kind of stick to my roots. I kind of like those little family-owned hole in the walls, So if you pass by it, you might think it's just like a regular house, but they really back there cooking up the best food.
That's awesome.
I think it's I think that's the best move, honestly. I remember going to this food truck. It's also in East Austin. It's Jamaican food.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, like my teammates just would bring it back to the dorms. I was just like, man, what is this? Jerk chicken, oxtails, all that type of stuff. So I just like to experience like all types of food, of course.
What kind of got you into that, about being interested in different cultures, like cuisine and everything like that? Was that something that you had always been interested in growing up, or was that something that in your young adulthood you became more interested in?
I would definitely say when I went to college and got out the house, my mom was definitely like a soul food type of person, which, I definitely love soul food. But when I went to Austin and we started, I started going places with my teammates and stuff, I think I started enjoying like, first Tex-Mex, because there's Tex-Mex places everywhere.
Right.
Then I got onto like Jamaican food. Then, just different breakfast spots, like the small little places. And it just started to continue to grow. And I just like kind of just made like a list of like all the places that I had tried and like new places I wanted to try. And I just started hitting all these different little places that I heard of, and some places have like a website, some of them don't. Some of them got like a little Facebook page, and you just try to figure out what the menu is and stuff. But yeah, I would say probably my freshman or sophomore year in college, I really started like just trying to try different types of foods, because my mom always said I was too like plain Jane, like I only like meat and potatoes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had to branch out.
Yeah. I just wanted to branch out and try different things, and I just started loving it from that point on.
So
love that.
We're talking so much about the Austin experience, and you grew up about an hour and a half outside of Austin?
About 50 minutes to an hour north of Austin.
Yeah, so you were close, and I think I read that you grew up in like a Texas fan household, right?
Yes, sir.
So to be that close to Austin, right, this mythical place in college football, and then to be able to commit and play for the team that you grew up loving that was so close, like what did that mean to you to be able to, yep, I'm signing with the school that I grew up loving?
I feel like it was a little bit of a difficult time. At the time, I committed to Coach Strong.
Right.
They had that, and there was a switch when they lost to Kansas. He had got fired. Coach Herman came along. I really didn't, build that deep of a relationship with him, so I kind of like committed to the school more than I committed to the coach type of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the place where I wanted to be. It was like a group of guys I can remember. We were all committed, during that time. Like a guy named Josh Thompson, Sam Ellinger, who plays for the Colts right now. We all had a group message. We were like, all right, who's staying?
Wow.
So, the whole group stayed, and we just decided that we wanted to commit. And, a lot of us ended up being, captains and stuff our senior year. So it was kind of like a full circle type of thing for sure.
That is kind of crazy. I mean, how much do you think back on that? And I'm sure, like, to get to y'all's final years together and to look back on kind of that time where it's all like, this could have ended up so different for all of us. Do you ever like reflect on that to be like, wow, because we stayed together, we were able to kind of build something pretty intriguing?
Yeah. Of course, our Texas career didn't go the way that we wanted it to go, but we did some things that probably weren't done there in a long time, like get 10 wins, and, in the Sugar Bowl and all that other stuff. But, we all reached our dream. We all, eventually made it to the NFL. So regardless of, sometimes people ask you if you would make a different choice, for any different reason, maybe because you wanted to win more or anything. I don't think I would change it for anything. The people I met, the relationships I built along the way, then, as well as, Texas helped me reach my dream as well. So I don't think I could change anything in the world for that.
I love that. So being a kid from Texas, growing up in a Texas household and everything like that, we were reading all about your family and your mom and brother particularly. Your brother is 14 years older than you.
Yeah,
so he's kind of like a fun uncle more than like even a brother, because I know my sister is 11 years younger than me. And it's like I get to do fun things with her, like take her to concerts. And so what was your brother like when you're kind of growing up and he's so much older than you, but what impact did he have when you're kind of just this little kid just trying to figure out where you want to be in life?
Being completely honest, he was not like the cool uncle. He was kind of like my father figure.
Really?
Yeah. My mom was actually a correctional officer, so she always worked the night shifts when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So I was always with him, like, majority of the day.
Yeah.
So he was always like kind of on me. Like I remember even being in Pee Wee, he would have this little like camcorder, and he used to like film all my games.
Yeah.
We used to sit there right after the game, like eat whatever food we ordered, and we used to like watch film.
As a kid, as a 7 or 8 year old.
Pee-wee, yeah.
Wow. And this was running back.
Yeah, I was,
right?
Yeah, I was a running back.
Back when you're playing running back.
Yeah, I played running back when I was younger. Then as I got older, I just was so much, taller and bigger than everybody. There was a weight limit.
Oh,
so
really?
They put me in as like a tight end. Then we had some stuff they would motion me back in there so I could play running back, or we do like a reverse or whatever, to get around that rule.
I wouldn't want to see you at the second level running towards me. That doesn't sound like a fun thing.
It's funny too, because recently I found out that I didn't know that there were these like weight requirements in like Pee Wee or Pop Warner or anything. That Desmond Ritter he wanted to be a quarterback, but they made him be a center because he was too big.
He was like 1 pound over or something.
Which is hilarious, because they were putting you a tight end, and I mean I think that's hilarious. When you think back to kind of those film sessions with your brother when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, how much of even things that y'all talked about then has helped you as a professional in this league?
I think one of the things that he always helped me with was like not being satisfied. I could score 3 or 4 touchdowns, or I could score every time I touched the ball, but it was never enough. There was never a point where he says, "Oh yeah, you had a great game, yada yada yada." He always pointed out what you did wrong first, which I felt like helped me later on, like especially getting to high school when you started hitting film kind of harder. When you start growing up and going through the sport, then I think it really helped me like in college and the pros, because I've already been criticized by the people closest to me, and I already have that drive like within to a certain degree, because it was like instilled in me young. So I think it definitely helps me on, that side of it.
I got to know. This is another, please feel free to fact check us if it's not true. Did your brother name you?
Yes, my brother did name me.
Okay.
What's the origin story of that then?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure.
Name?
Yeah.
He's like, I actually like Taquan.
I don't know where he found the name or whatever, but I was always like writing my name in school. I was like, man, who made this name? Cause one day I was writing it. It was like Taquon, but I didn't put like the apostrophe right there.
Right.
And he got mad at me. I was like, how you gonna tell me how to write my name? He was like, I picked your name.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like with Bijan, like how you pronounce it, like either Bijan or Bijan, and his mom's like, his name is Bijan.
Yeah, my mom gets really mad. That's why everyone calls me TQ. That's why that nickname's a thing.
It's because your mom's like, this is what his nickname is.
Yeah, people used to say Taquan instead of Tuckwan.
Tuckwan, yeah.
And she used to get so mad. I was like, then this dude I think named Tori in middle school, he started calling me TQ, and it just stuck ever since.
It just made sense.
And it was like, it was easier too since.
Right. There was no confusing the pronunciation of TQ.
Yeah.
That's okay. So I'm gonna read this from the Temple Daily Telegram, and it's not a direct quote. I just think it's really well written. I wish I had the person's name, but it says, "What is even scarier, the reaction of Graham's mother, Forrestine Thompson, if he brings home any grades lower than A's and B's, or if he forgets to wash the dishes or clothes, or if his performance in a game doesn't meet her demanding standards."
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. she definitely would be the first person to tell me that I didn't have a good game.
Yeah.
It definitely was like that in my household. My brother, as I got older, he kind of like leaned off me a little bit. He started becoming more of like my brother as I got older in my teenage years.
Right, yeah.
Like kind of backed off from like the, that father role as I started to grow like as a young man. But my mom, hard on me since day one.
Yeah.
Never really let up, even to this day.
So it was like, get good grades. Yeah, but like those are good ways to grow up with discipline and structure, right? I mean, so I take it that you worked pretty hard to get A's and B's and do all the things that she wanted you to do.
Yeah, I remember we used to get those progress reports.
Yeah.
Low-key used to hide them in my bag for as long as I could. Cause if you didn't turn something in, you might have like a low B or a high C or something. And she really didn't want to see anything below 85.
Right. See, so like you just got to stash those, and then that gives you time by the time the final report card comes out to get the grade where it needs to be.
So you said is she still a correctional officer?
No.
Okay. But that was what she was when you were growing up.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because I imagine that's a pretty demanding job for anybody. What was it like and I know you're talking about like the hours being kind of wonky and weird and long. What did you see from her as you were kind of growing up, and what did she mean to you?
Honestly, like when I was younger, of course I would see her on the weekends, but I kind of felt like I would miss her. Like she's coming out the door, I'm walking in the door, or, vice versa. Like always kind of like, missed her, but I always knew that she was working hard and stuff. And eventually she ended up actually quitting because my grandmother had, ovarian cancer. She was going through like that whole battle for probably like a good year and a half. And, it didn't really go her way, and eventually she decided to have a career change after that. Then things were a little different. She was working like a traditional 8 to 5, like probably when I was around maybe like starting around like maybe 7 or 8 or something like that. Then I started seeing my mom more. Then, I had Pee-wee games and stuff, so it kind of changed from that standpoint.
Cool. We, again, correct us if we're wrong, but has your mom and brother had a chance to see you play in the NFL?
To come to a live game, no, but they always watch it. It's been kind of hard getting them out there with their work schedule and everything that they got going on. Yeah. Especially my brother with, him having my niece and everything.
So the plan is at some point in the 2023 season, we've got to get them out here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We really do. Because first off, I want to meet your mom because she sounds like a really cool lady. For you, when you're kind of like thinking back to, I don't know, just what you wanted to be as a player. I think something that really like stuck out to me was there was this quote from you where you said, I try to take a little piece of everyone's game and make it my own. For you, what were some of those pieces that you think back on in maybe your college years where you're like, these were people who I aspired to be, and these were the things that I aspired to be within myself too?
Yeah, of course, I always watched, the top guys, Fletcher Cox at the time, J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Grady at the time when they went to the Super Bowl. At the time I was like a junior when Grady went to the Super Bowl. Just watching like how fast his get off is and like how violent he is off the line. Just trying to take little pieces of their game because, everybody has different body types. Like I'm not the same body type as him. Maybe I'm a little bit of a longer athlete with longer arms and stuff. So I might watch a guy who has, maybe the same, length of arms, or a guy that has a similar get off, or a guy that is really good at this certain move. What does he do to work off of it? And I always try to take some of the top guys because they're at the top of the game for a reason. So why not try to take a piece of their game and make it your own? But at the same time, you're also not them.
Right.
So that's also something that you have to keep in mind. Like Aaron Donald's twitchiness, you really can't teach that. But there's definitely things that you can do to help yourself get off the ball faster and do this better, and like maybe some of the drills that he does or his workout habits, things like that. I feel like I take pieces of it. But lately I would feel like some of the guys I played with in college, like Charles and Minihue, Poona Ford, like some of the guys that are in the league, other places, I learned from them when I was, a young freshman, and taking pieces of what they taught me and just, implementing it, and eventually it helped me get here.
Cool.
You talk so much about getting to know Grady, right? It seems like there's like a genuine friendship there. Why did you guys click so quickly? It just seems, like you guys
really
are
natural.
like really natural.
Honestly, I came in here as a rookie, not knowing what to expect. Like, my natural demeanor is kind of like I'm to myself.
Right.
Until I figure out pretty chill.
Yeah.
Until I figure out the situation. Maybe it rubs some people wrong. Maybe they think I'm like rude or something, but I'm really not. I'm just, a shy guy on the inside. And, Grady just being a, older guy that's in a position of leadership just started talking to me. And we just started conversating back and forth. And eventually, we started hanging out outside of football every now and then. We started talking about our family and we just kind of, grew closer. And as well as, me being on the field majority of the time with him last year, I think that definitely helped, build that bond between the two of us. But anytime I ever had a question about the game or a question about just handling pro life, that's the main person I always went to. That's the person's opinion I trusted the most. And I felt like he never steered me wrong with advice.
It's really cool too because Grady Jarrett was the first person that we had on this podcast when our very, very first guest. And I remember we talked to him at that time about you. And I think that was like early last year. And it was just so cool then even to hear kind of him talking about you and now you talking about him and how consistent that relationship has been. But in saying that, is there something about Grady Jarrett that you found out about him that you didn't know about, or something that y'all do together that people would find interesting?
I'll probably say we're probably jokesters. We probably joking majority of the time. If you ever see us like maybe practice, maybe maybe on the bench last year, you see us talking,
right, yeah.
and you see the mic, and he'll say something random. I'm kind of looking at him, like we're probably like making a joke or something.
Right.
But I would say, since we were talking about food, me and Grady kind of share that in common. Like,
he's a big foodie too.
Trying food places. He always tells me places to try, like places in the city because I was new here. I really didn't know anything about Atlanta. He's kind of from the area, so he always told me places to try, places to eat. That's something that we probably bonded over to begin with. I think one of the first places we went to was like CNS Oyster Bar.
Oh yeah. The oysters. It's funny because Grady, when we asked him a question, he had a list of places in Atlanta that you could go eat and everything like that. And I was like, first of all, Grady, all of your places are out of my tax bracket, but sure.
Right.
But it's so funny because I honestly think that now that I know that both you and Grady are connoisseurs of food and restaurants and cuisines and everything, y'all should do a full-on Instagram account where it's just y'all going to various places in Atlanta and just trying their food. I think y'all could be really good at that.
Yeah.
I mean, we start a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, make a little podcast.
Yeah.
Trying the food.
Mm-hmm. I think it works. I think it makes sense.
And you talk so much about the never satisfied drive that you have. But do you ever take the time or pinch yourself and realize, okay, I've been dreaming about this moment my whole life, right? And then you get here and then you're a value contributor on an NFL team. Are you the type that can ever acknowledge where all the hard work has gotten you, or do you not even think about that? You're just so driven on progress and what's next. Do you ever have time to look back and be like, I'm a kid from a small Texas town who went to Texas, who got drafted, who is a major part of an NFL defensive line. Do you ever take time to think about all that you've done?
Honestly, I think this is one of my flaws. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think it's a flaw.
Yeah.
I think it's a flaw because I think everyone should look back at their course of work and be proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't really recognize it and understand everything that I've done and how big of a deal it is until I see some of the stuff people talking about me from back home or something, and how they talk about me like I'm a big deal or something, but I don't ever feel like a big deal. I feel like I'm doing what I need to do every step of the way, and now I'm here. Now I still got to take care of, what's in front of me. I still got to take care of business. I still got to, worry about the next game. It's like a week after week thing. That's kind of how I've always viewed a season. Like this week, I'm worried about this. Next week, I'm worried about this. So it was hard for me to really step back and understand that, especially after, having the season and the injury last year.
Sure.
I feel like it put me more in that mode of like, I got more work to put in. I got more things to accomplish and do.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And I think like you bringing up a good point about like the injury, it almost sometimes makes you like stop and slow down to a certain extent because you can't physically do everything that you want to do. When you look back at that time period and working really hard to get back out on the field and back to 100%, what was something that really like pushed you to get back and really helped you through that process?
I've seen even since watching the game since I was a kid, I've seen guys have, major injuries, maybe even more serious than mine, come back, play just as good or even better. And I don't want to be one of those guys that comes off a major injury and spends all that time rehabbing and, falls flat on their face. I never wanted to be that guy. And I always felt like it's all about the work that you're putting in, down from a physical standpoint as well as mental, because I feel like the mental side of it is what is the greatest part of an injury.
Right, is to be able to grind through that, especially, because you're so used to it. But I think you're right. You consider it a flaw that you don't look back, but that's kind of partially what got you here, right? Just that constant, never be satisfied drive to get better and better and better. We've hit our favorite part of the podcast, which is called rapid fire, although it never goes very fast.
No.
Everybody gets the same 5 questions, right? Same 5 questions?
Yeah, pretty much.
And feel free to answer it however you want. Are you ready?
I got to answer all 5 back to back?
Oh, well.
Or one at a time?
Yeah, we'll go one at a time.
Yeah, we'll go one at a
Okay.
time. You don't have to remember.
Okay, number 1, you're in high school, college, youth football, pros, it doesn't matter. What's your favorite play of your athletic career?
Favorite play? I would say my senior year, playoff game 1 against Corsicana. The QB was a quarterback coach's son, and I sacked them on their sideline. I just got up and I pointed at him because he had said that he couldn't tell who was the Texas commit on the film.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
So I just topped it off with had 4 of the sacks, and that last one I just pointed at him.
4.
I love it. I'm glad that's your pick because that's really good. Now, who was your favorite player growing up?
Favorite player, I would definitely say J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a huge Houston Texans fan. Yeah, shout out Matt Schaub too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now he's on the staff.
Yeah.
What is a show or movie that you're binging or that you're super into? Any TV, movie, anything like that?
Shows I'm binging. Sounds really weird. The show I just started, it's called Discovery of Witches.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have read that book.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
you were watching that show?
Yeah, I just started watching it.
Ooh, it's really good.
Yeah.
Stick with it. It gets a little wonky, but sometimes that's good TV.
No spoilers.
I know.
Okay.
No spoilers. I won't spoil it.
Yeah, I'm a huge supernatural TV show guy. Yeah, for sure.
Love that. Okay. Since we have been talking this entire time about food, we know about Austin, Texas and everything, but Atlanta, what is a restaurant in Atlanta that you would tell people like, hey, this is a place in Atlanta you got to go to?
I would say I love Hal's.
Really?
Yeah, Hal's Steakhouse. Yeah, it's definitely like a traditional style steakhouse, but I just love the atmosphere. I like the food, and sometimes I feel like with their menu they keep it simple.
Yeah.
But it's very good though.
A good steak, you really can never go wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can mess it up.
Well, yeah.
Right. But
right.
I mean, just do a couple things really, really well and nail that, and I'm fine with that. I don't need like a menu that's like.
Yeah, I got to throw this out there. Marcel's too, though.
Marcel's, yeah.
Marcel's is definitely fire.
See, you and Grady got to start right there.
I know, yeah.
And just restaurant tour 3, Atlanta. Number 5, last one. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Superpower. I would say mind reading.
Mind reading. I think that might have been a first. Like it's normally flight or teleportation.
Right.
Is normally, but mind reading. That's a good one.
Now, would you be able to like turn it off and on? Because I feel like
I definitely want to on and off switch.
right,
100%.
because having to hear other people's thoughts all the time, I kind of be like, I don't really know what y'all want me.
But if you need to know something, especially if you're in a 3-point stance and you're like quarterback, okay, yeah, you're gonna go over there.
Yeah, that would be definitely perfect.
That would be perfect. Well, that was a perfect way to end it. Taquan Graham, thank you so much for joining the Falcons in Focus podcast. Please do what you do. Rate, review, and subscribe to the Atlanta Falcons Podcast Network. Subscribe to Atlanta Falcons on YouTube, where you can see this podcast as well. And we will be back with you again next week with another awesome guest. Thank you so much. See you.